Welcome back, and my guest is Dr. Jide Johnson, Chief Lecturer at the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, and we're talking about insecurity and food inflation. Insecurity is well known, food is well known, but the fact that there is food inflation, hardly anybody can afford to buy our food. For the past half hour or so, Dr. Johnson has been, analyzing it, and it has very many different facets. Just before we went on break, George in Ikeja called in, and his lamentation was that when are we going to begin to get to grips with the problem by what we have at our disposal, namely information, facts. He believes, and a lot of people do too, that the people who are working against government are known. Now, we've often heard that he who alleges must prove. So maybe that will make people be a bit more reticent. But there are other indications. Take when Saudi Arabia said to us, we have arrested, found Boko Haram people. We have tried them. We have done this. We have done that. Nigeria didn't pick up on it. So people are complaining that why is President Tinubu, he's the top honcho. Everything, every buck stops on his desk. Why is he not taking the buck by the bull by the horns and speaking out to these confidential informations that there are people behind this. It is known to government. Why is it difficult to name and shame some of these problems so that there can be a better understanding and a more effective dealing with it? Is it because of the power structure in this country?
There are a lot of power centers.
There are a lot. Thank you very much. Let me include Mazi Okoroafo. Before you now go, Mazi, you will explain these power centers. Good morning, Mazi Okoroafo.
Good morning, Sayuri. You see, when you talk about people that they know people that are doing all these things in terms of insecurity, let me tell you one thing. We have not gone to the causes. We are only chasing the symptoms. Now, when you say is it radicalism or radicalism? We know those boys who started all this. We know all those boys who are fighting different angles. Now, today, core members are still in Zamfara, enclave with those boys. You come to Kaduna, the same thing, some students, they are there. Nobody is talking about it. Is it the job of the president? Now, tell me, the traditional rulers in those areas, what are they doing? The governors of that place, what are they doing? The local government chairman of what are they doing? The councillor, what are they doing? Look, people know all these people, what they are doing and what they are doing. Now tell me, if you go to Zamfara today, as you are talking, there are all those areas that they have all these gold. People are mining all those. The federal government say they have found all these extortion. But people are saying, but who are the people giving those people companies? Are they not the security agencies? So what are we saying? People are aware of all this is, but people are, now you see not in Zamfara that one of the kingpins in his hotel room, 25 million of Nigerian currency were found in his wardrobe where he is. How did he manage to get those money from the bank that people brought? He kept it in the room. Now, who are the people taking care of that money for him in the hotel? Are you telling me that the young man is always 240 in the room in the hotel? It's not.
So these are the questions, Mazi. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon, Mazi. Thank you very much, sir, for holding on. So these are the questions and that Nigerians are asking. They are actually almost rhetorical. But Dr. Johnson, to pick it up perhaps from where Mazi had left it, you seem to be in agreement with the idea that a lot of these things are actually known to government. So the next question that the ordinary man in the street will ask is that, why not to bring it out into the open? You said there are various power centers.
Power structures, and considering the complexity and the dynamics of the Nigerian state. And in democracy, you'd require a lot of power centers for you to be elected as president. It's deeper than that.
So that's where they talk about stepping on toes.
Exactly. That's why talking about stepping on toes. And don't also forget that there are people that look in presidential system of government, the bureaucracy behind the presidency, unelected officials, the bureaucracy, those that have been in security agencies, intelligence agencies, those that have been in civil service, they are as powerful as the president. That's why the office of the president is called the presidency. In America, they call them the deep state. So what we see is deeper than what the ordinary eyes can see. So there are forces that, look, like Mazi said, are there no local government chairman in those local government? Are there no councillors in that local government? Are there no state governors in those states? Are there no House of Representative members in those areas? Are there no senators in those senatorial districts?
Are there no emirs? Are there no obas?
And this is one of the things which I've always said, which is to an advantage of the North, and at the same time to also, what could be your advantage could be your weakness. In the North, those that are traditional rulers are also the religious leaders. So when you call the religious leaders, it is the emirs that will come. When you call traditional rulers, it is the emirs that come. So they occupy dual role in the scheme of things within the structure of the northern society structure. Compared to what we have in the South, the traditional rulers are different from the religious leaders. So if you want to get things done, particularly in that climate, we should hold. For example, if you are terrorists under your domain as a traditional ruler and as a spiritual head, then who are you ruling over? Where does your traditional authority or your spiritual authority, where does it come from? That's where government needs to engage. And then if you also look at some of the challenges this present administration has with respect to the protest, quote unquote, being generated, who are those that raised the issue first, that people will still go on the street, and people said that for 8 years you kept quiet. With less than 1 year you have.
We had Senator Shehu Sani on the program. I think it was last week or something. He said as much, speaking directly to his fellow Northerners. Say, you guys kept quiet for 8 years of the Buhari regime administration.
Within 8 months,
and then within 8 months of the Tinubu administration, all of you, and just looking at Senator Shehu Sani, who is no Yoruba man, he's no Igbo man, he's no Shekiri man, he's a Northerner, and he was saying this. He was speaking the truth, and I think Abubakar from Kaduna, I believe it was, phoned in to say, I'm supporting Shehu Sani 110%.
So invariably, the president can't be everywhere. One of the beauty of presidential system of government is delegation of authority. So,
sorry, sir. Part of the problem, I think, from what you've also explained, maybe some people sort of half knew it, is that it's not as easy as people think to speak the truth as to where problems lie in this land. You explained that democracy being what it is, seeking an election being what it is, aid comes from so many different places.
There are special interests.
There are special interests.
Even in the United States of America.
And
there are areas where you can.
But we've heard people boast before. President Obasanjo, back in his day, remember when he was going to come to power for the first time, I remember Sonny Rabo, of radio in those days, was saying, are you willing to step on toes? He said, Sonny, I will step on toes. I don't know whether he stepped on toes after he arrived in office.
You see, there is a different ballgame. They said, once you get to Washington will make you to become Washington. That's the American. Yes. And so most people go to Washington with lofty ideas. Yes. But when you see the various special interests, you see the big pharma, you see the military industrial complex, and then you want to seek re-election, and then you need funding for the election, then you know that you have to toe the line of the military industrial complex. That's why you still see that America will continually be going on war, because it is those that are producing arms and ammunition that are supporting the legislature.
So presidents have a lot to contend with.
A lot of forces to contend with. It's only a president that is not trying to seek re-election.
Yes.
Well, you know what? So I'm going to do one term,
yes,
and I'm going to step on toes, and I'm going to clear. Because look, once it's time for election, you have to beg for vote. Let me use it in our local parliament.
And if you are being too radical, and you're telling the truth all over the place, carry on. When the time for election comes, you know you're going to do your
dance. No matter how presidential you are, you put your hand behind your back for some people. No matter how presidential you are.
And we're not just talking about Nigeria. It is the way of democracy.
That's democracy. That's the weakness of representative democracy.
So it's all going to be about negotiations and
Negotiating skills. The art of
yes.
Yeah, your negotiating skills. What are the things that there's a current example which I want people to go, whereby the president was able to reduce crime by 96%. Is in El Salvador. But what's the population of El Salvador? The current president, I can't recall his name, he won the election with about 97% of the vote. I can't recall his name now. But those are mono-ethnic society.
Yeah.
In a multi-ethnic society like Nigeria with diverse culture.
That's right.
I'm a Yoruba man. Even within the Yoruba nation, how many ethnic nationalities do we have?
So
now to talk of
the example you're giving now, effectively in comparison to those other places that are mono-ethnic, it's like a number of countries that have to coexist.
Exactly. So
and that's going to take political negotiation.
Political negotiation on the part of the government with those power centers across level, and also public communication on the part of the government to win the support of the people. The
art of not stepping on toes.
Yeah.
Because people are saying, step on those toes. Go ahead. Nah, there's a price. And this is part of the problem. The purists might not explain it so crudely, might not like to explain so crudely, but that at the end of the day is where it's at. You cannot speak the truth in our society, unfortunately. And again, that is not a statement that will be made as blithely as that. But you say some things, there are consequences. And this is the very nature of the situation that we face here. So people are saying, why don't they name these people and shame them? We know there are people working against us. We know that a truckload of food was intercepted, taking food out of Nigeria. You've not made an example of those situations.
I think that one critical area that the government needs to look at is the banking reforms. You recall that every administration, Obasanjo did capitalization of the bank in 2002, 2004.
Yeah.
When Soludo was the central bank governor, 2 billion. I still have a tape which I asked my student to go and do a vox populi on their opinion with respect to that capitalization. I still have the cassette. It's a cassette. It's still in my office that I gave the broadcast student to go and do a vox populi and to ask people about their opinion about the capitalization. And I think the Emir Sanusi did 20 billion capitalization. I think that we need banking reforms. When you see the financial institutions, the money they make, George raised it with respect to what developed, the money that the financial institution make, what they declare at the end of the day as profit. There's no other sector. And you begin to wonder, where do they make this money from?
How did they make this?
How did they make this particular money that they declare this profit? You all see their balance sheet, their annual general meetings report. We see the annual financial report, and we see that. So there's a need for the central bank governor, like George pointed out, to look into this particular issue. If you are making money, where are you investing the money? At least there should be a policy that will require banks either 5% or 10% of their return on investment to be invested in agriculture, to be invested in security. What was the way that Fashola solved Lagos security problem? You recall the security problem, the security challenges in Lagos State, and then there was the Lagos Security Fund, where all the major organizations and companies in Lagos contributed money.
Yes, they became stakeholders.
It became stakeholders, and then government engaged them, and as a result of that, Lagos was secured. Could we have that template? Could we have that template in Nigeria? These are some of the areas that we need to look into. The issue of security, the issue of food security cannot be handled by government alone. There's a need for public participation. In what way can we engage this private sector? Government will provide, once we have a safe environment, that's when your business can thrive. That's when you can make money. And for us to provide that safe environment, you also need to contribute your own quota beyond the taxes you are paying.
All of this perhaps to help at least a bit the understanding out there. And you had said that government needs to also be much more forthcoming with communication as to what exactly is going on, so that people are not surprised about matters, so that people don't begin to hear about policy, drifts or directions in the marketplace, where it's going to be inaccurate anyhow. So, but because people have George Mazi Okorafor, many people have, adduced that it is known that there are forces working against the success of this administration. But then one of the greatest tools must surely be information. Put information out there, put the truth out there, be transparent. And so when you put anything else on social media, people at least have something, to evaluate and to counter with. Say, it's not so. We know what's going on. Even though they might not, as a result of that, be ready to cut government a lot of slack, but at least they know that there are detractors of government who willy-nilly, no matter what they do, will still be criticizing them. But at least the more reasonable ones among them will have a better understanding of the score. Dr. Johnson, as always, you're always exciting when you come on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My final take is that you all understand that we don't have any other country than Nigeria.
And this one.
Elections have ended.
And this one.
Now it's time for governance, and we must all put our hands together to make Nigeria work. If there's crisis in Nigeria, it should affect the whole of Africa, and we pray that Nigeria should succeed. Whoever wins the election has become the president, and we must all support him.
Dr. Jide Johnson, Chief Lecturer, Nigerian Institute of Journalism. That's where we leave it today. Please join us on Monday for the next fresh edition of the program. I am Yori Folani. Do have a great weekend. Bye-bye for now.